Cameras are pretty simple. You point, press a little button, and the shutter opens briefly to record an image. Video cameras are a little different, however, and the shutter affects your moving images in different ways. In this segment of TechKnow, we're going to take a step through the looking glass of the video camera lens and look at how the imaging chip we find there interacts with the shutter. More importantly, we'll show you how you can use the shutter on your camcorder to affect the look of your video. If the lens of a camcorder is analogous to, well, the lens in your eye, then the image sensor in your camcorder is analogous to the retina. There are two primary types of image sensors in today's camcorders, the CCD and a CMOS. The traditional CCD, or charge-coupled device, simply gathers up light and dumps an electrical signal to some other circuitry in your camcorder that processes that signal. CMOS chips, or complementary metal oxide semiconductors, are integrated circuits that combine a microprocessor and some memory together onto a single chip, and they're found in all kinds of different devices. In a digital camera or camcorder, the CMOS also contains an analog image sensor. The difference with the CMOS chip is that the capture, processing, and temporary storage of the image data all happens on a single chip, which is more efficient and, not incidentally, cheaper to manufacture, which is probably not an insignificant reason why the camcorder industry is moving to CMOS cameras. Let's sum up this discussion by saying that inside of your camcorder there is some kind of image sensor that is collecting light for some period of time and then dumping data of some type to storage. It's doing that at a periodic rate that's often tied to the format of the video you are shooting. So, for example, when shooting 60 interlaced fields a second for NTSC television in the United States, the imaging sensor would dump data to storage at 60 Hertz. The exposure, just like in a film camera, is partially determined by how long the image sensor spends bathed in light. At 60 Hertz, this equates to a 1/60th of a second shutter speed. And indeed, this is a very good reason to leave your NTSC camcorder shutter speed control at 1/60th of a second in almost all situations. Changing the shutter speed to something else is done for two reasons. One, to adjust the exposure, and two, for effect. Just like the shutter in a still camera snaps open and determines how long the film is exposed to light, so a camcorder shutter can be adjusted to control how long the image sensor is exposed, with one important difference. Most camcorders don't have a physical mechanical shutter. Instead, most camcorders have an electronic shutter, but the effect is the same. Doubling the shutter speed to 1/120th of a second will roughly half the amount of light coming in. The primary tool you should use to control exposure, however, is the aperture, which controls the size of the opening in front of the image sensor. The aperture is, however, also very important in controlling the depth of field. To summarize a rather complex conversation in optical physics, the larger the aperture, the shallower the depth of field. Artistically, a shallow depth of field gives us more control over what is and what isn't in focus in our scene. Sometimes having everything in focus is good, but other times it's just plain boring. In order to keep the aperture open as wide as possible, we'll need to decrease the exposure in some other way. Neutral density filters are ideal for this, but you can also use faster shutter speeds. Any motion that happens while the shutter is open will be blurred across the image chip and the resulting image. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Remember, we're talking about full motion video here, so the blurring is more of a look or a feel than a flaw. It's lovely here in sunny Florida this time of year, so let's take a field trip outside and I'll show you what I mean. We're shooting 24p video here with a 1/24th of a second shutter. Each frame is getting one open shutter, and if we look at a still frame, we can see quite a bit of blur. If we double the shutter speed to 1/48th of a second, which is the default, our still image grabs shows less blurring. If we bump the shutter speed up to 1/120th of a second, there will be even less light coming in and also less blurring, at least if we look at a still frame. At higher and higher shutter speeds, the effect becomes even more pronounced. I want to emphasize here, this is what the still frames look like, which really doesn't give you much of a clue as to what the full motion video will look like. Higher shutter speeds give your video a techie, edgy, sharp look that you'll see used in science fiction shows on television sometimes. Slower shutter speeds can result in a softer, more filmic look. Take a look at this stream of water at different shutter speeds. The difference here is quite dramatic. Like many of the tech topics that we talk about here, it's not necessarily about the right and wrong shutter speed. It's about understanding the technology so you can get the look that you want. If you have any questions about this or any other technical topic, drop the tech team an email or give us a call. We'd be happy to help you out with this or any other technical questions you might have.